Welcome to Timeless Sparks. Rome, a civilization of ambition, conquest, and transformation. Rising from a modest settlement near the banks of the Tiber River to becoming the ruler of a vast empire, Rome didn't merely shape its own destiny, it influenced the course of history itself. But how did it ascend to dominance? And perhaps the most profound question of all, what caused its eventual fall? Today we'll explore 5 pivotal chapters in Rome's story, a tale of resilience and power, but also one of conflict, frailty, and ultimate decline. Welcome to Timeless Sparks. Let's dive into the epic story of Rome. Chapter 1. The Birth of the Roman Republic. It began in 509 BCE. After centuries under the rule of kings, the last Roman monarch was overthrown, and the city boldly established a new form of government, the Republic. At the heart of this new system lay the Senate, controlled by Rome's elite patricians who wielded enormous power. The divide between the patricians, the aristocratic families, and the plebeians, or commoners, ran deep. The plebeians wanted representation and struggled for their rights through strikes and negotiation. Slowly, political reforms followed, granting the plebeians more influence. From its humble beginnings as a republic, Rome proved its adaptability and ambition. It would need both as storms of war approached. It began in 509 BCE. After centuries under the rule of kings, the last Roman monarch was overthrown, and the city boldly established a new form of government, the Republic. At the heart of this new system lay the Senate, controlled by Rome's elite patricians, who wielded enormous power. But Rome was no stranger to internal tensions. The divide between the patricians, the aristocratic families, and the plebeians, or commoners, ran deep. The plebeians wanted representation and struggled for their rights through strikes and negotiation. Slowly, political reforms followed, granting the plebeians more influence. From its humble beginnings as a republic, Rome proved its adaptability and ambition. It would need both as storms of war approached. Chapter 2. Rome's expansion and the Punic Wars. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome was growing, not just in power, but in territorial ambition. Its greatest test came in a series of wars against Carthage, known as the Punic Wars, starting in 264 BCE. These epic conflicts were fought for dominance over the Mediterranean, and at the center of them were legendary figures like Hannibal Barca. Hannibal's daring trek through the Alps with war elephants remains one of history's most audacious military feats. Yet Rome's resolve was unshaken. Under the leadership of figures such as Scipio Africanus, Rome triumphed, decisively defeating Carthage by 146 BCE. The Punic Wars cemented Rome's status as the Mediterranean's rising superpower, bringing territories like Greece, Spain, and Gaul under its control. Riches flowed into Rome, but so did instability. The expansion stretched Rome's resources and exposed weaknesses in its political system. The cracks in the Republic were widening. As Rome's territory grew, so did its problems. Corruption in the Senate undermined trust, economic inequality deepened, and ambitious generals began accumulating personal power. Among them was Julius Caesar, whose military genius brought him fame, and whose ambition ushered the Republic to its breaking point. In 49 BCE, Caesar defied the Senate by crossing the Rubicon River with his army, a symbolic act of rebellion. By 44 BCE, he held absolute power, naming himself dictator for life. This alarmed his enemies, who plotted his assassination that same year. With Caesar's death came chaos, a civil war that split Rome. Emerging victorious from the turmoil was Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir. Renaming himself Augustus, he dismantled the Republic and became Rome's first emperor. The age of the Republic was over. Rome was now an empire. A new chapter of grandeur and governance was about to begin. Chapter 4. The Roman Empire at its peak. Under Augustus and his successors, Rome launched into what would become known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Under Augustus and his successors, Rome launched into what would become known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. For nearly 200 years, stability, prosperity, and technological advancement flourished. At its zenith, under emperors like Trajan and Hadrian, Rome stretched from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Mesopotamia, the largest empire the ancient world had seen. This era produced wonders that continue to fascinate us today: the Colosseum, aqueducts that carried water to cities, and the Pantheon, with its awe-inspiring dome. Roman engineering and governance shaped the empire, but it wasn't just infrastructure that left a legacy. Roman law and philosophy laid the foundations for modern systems of government across the globe. But empires, as history has shown, are not eternal. Rome's golden age could not last forever. By the 3rd century CE, Rome was faltering under the weight of its own enormity. Political chaos and corruption battered the empire's structure, while economic troubles eroded its stability. On the outskirts of Rome's borders, pressure mounted as barbarian tribes like the Visigoths and Vandals began invading. While the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, would endure, the Western Roman Empire succumbed. In 476 CE, Rome's last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed, signaling the end of the empire's western reign. A humbling fall for a civilization so mighty, but a story not without hope. Rome's ideas, innovations and laws lived on, shaping human history in profound ways. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it didn't fall in one either. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it didn't fall in one either. Its story is a lesson in power, ambition, and resilience. The rise of Rome teaches us how determination can shape the world, while its fall reminds us of the dangers of overreach and neglect. From republic to empire, from conquest to collapse, Rome's legacy endures in our systems of government, architecture, art, and beyond. And as we marvel at the ruins left behind, we only need to look closer to see the echoes of Roman ingenuity in the modern world. Don't forget to subscribe for more epic history content. Join us again as we uncover the timeless sparks that shaped humanity.